All right, hey there, passengers. This is the Comic Tour Guide. Sorry about the delay. I just been kind of lazy over the last few weeks looking at videos. Couldn't find any ideas, but now I came. Something came to mind. So I was having this conversation with one of my brothers about fan casting for or the potential fan cast for Ghost Rider and whatnot, and it had me idea on Spirits of Vengeance or whatnot, or at least his direct family for some reason. And for those of you who don't know, the original Ghost Rider that we all know and love, the one that Nicolas Cage played as Johnny Blaze. He used to work for Quentin Carnival. He made a deal with the devil to try and save his adopted father, Craig Simpson, from cancer, save them from the cancer, but he died of another incident and sold his soul, and he was going to go to hell. But instead of that, he was paired up with Spirit of Vengeance, more specifically Zarathos, and the rest was history. But did you know that the Spirit of Vengeance actually runs farther down his bloodline? Not necessarily Zarathos, but but in his family, and began with the family known as the Kale family back in the 1800s. Um, it all started with a man named Noble Kale, and who was son of a pastor named Pastor Kale. They didn't really say his main initial name. One day, Noble Kale found out that his father, who the pastor of the local town, uh, was involved with witchcraft, and because of that, he not only ordered for Noble's wife to be burned at the stake, but he also framed and imprisoned Noble into secrecy. And from there, as she was dying, Noble's wife Magdalene put a curse on the whole town to have demons just wreck the whole town. They pinned her as a witch, but maybe she was. Um, the point of that was that in a desperate attempt to save the town, since he was already doing witchcraft, he already figured, hey, let's invoke some demons. Let me trade the soul of my son Noble in return, save the town. So in return, Noble Kale was paired up with a rogue demon, which eventually became a Spirit of Vengeance, and became the first notable Ghost Rider in what I would say is modern history, or at least the 1800s, and stopped the demons. So when it was time to collect, the Archangel Uriel prevented the devil motif of Marvel, Mephisto, from taking the soul after the deed was done. And throughout the next few centuries, that Spirit of Vengeance would go down the family bloodline one way or another. More specifically, through this medallion called the Medallion of Power. It involved a couple of the Spirits of Vengeance that sacrificed their souls to imprison Zarathos, but that's neither here nor there. Well, at least not overly important. Maybe that'll be something for another day. Eventually, the Spirit of Vengeance will fall down to a lady named Naomi Kale, and eventually she will fall in love with a man named Barton Blaze, and the two would have three children: Johnny, Barbara, and Danny. But fearing that the dangers that come with being a ghost rider would come to her children, she eventually split. She can't speak. I'm going with it though. She eventually abandoned her husband and her oldest son and split the kids apart to protect them. So she took Barbara and Danny not Blaze, Danny with them, and from there she even then took it further and then left Barbara and Danny to adoption, and they would be adopted by their adoptive mother, Mrs. Ketch, and they would get their name, Barbara and Danny Ketch. Johnny, as it was meant to be, was supposed to be the next inheritor of the Spirit of Vengeance in the family, since he was the oldest child. But he inherited the Spirit of Vengeance through other means, like I mentioned in the beginning of the episode. Those was paired with him, so he became a Ghost Rider. Oh god, my eyes are terrible. He became a Ghost Rider of the family, but not the Ghost Rider that inherited the spirit that came from the Kale bloodline. Eventually, Naomi Kale would die, and she would be left to be buried by some other ancestor. Whole other thing. But when it was time despite her efforts, the Spirit of Vengeance would still eventually just fall down into the lap of one of their children. So through other means, Danny and Barbara were together one day when a gang of bikers fatally wounded Barbara, who was supposed to be the next host to the Chaos Spirit of Vengeance. Because of that, when they were trying to outrun or escape the gang that wounded Barbara, they came across a junkyard, found a motorcycle that still somehow worked, and on the gas cap was this thing called the Medallion Power. This motorcycle that they came across happened to be their late biological mother's Spirit of Vengeance totem. And Danny took it upon himself, used the motorcycle to get Barbara to medical care, and she became the Ghost Rider. Or at least, he eventually gained the Spirit of Vengeance that fell down the family. So, technically speaking, Danny Ketch is the Ghost Rider of their family. At this time, also, Johnny Blaze happened to be without his Spirit of Vengeance, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, that's a little recap on the family line of Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch and how they became Ghost Riders in the right. Like, I'm subscribed, and I'll catch you guys next time.